بيصيروا أوسع ضريب شو اسمه الكاميون. لما أوسع ضريب الكاميون بسكر الدركسيون معه، بيبرم الدركسيون لما الشحليط في شحليط صغير بينزل فيه، بيصيروا أوسع علي إنه يعني بصير تطلع روحي وبموت.
سمعت صوت قوي كتير، انفجار. من صدى الصوت صار راسي يوجعني كتير، قلبت على الأرض وما حسيت بشي. اجت القذيفة على البرادي عند بيت جيراننا، ظهر جوزي لبرا مشان يشوف شو فيه، لقى البرادي محترقين، ظهر لبرا مشان يطفيهم، وظهرت انا وراهم مشان قالوا ما يروحوش، اجتني القذيفة وماتت.
During the Civil War, my mother has been killed with a rocket, came from the American Navy from the sea, and then my mother has been reborn with Hanin's body. We love Hanin so much, as if she is my real mother.
The children who remember being killed in the Lebanese Civil War are from an obscure sect known as the Druze. They believe that at the very moment of death, the soul is reborn in the body of a baby. The Druze faith in reincarnation may seem no more than wishful thinking, but could it just possibly be provable fact? Now the civil war is over and the streets of Beirut are safe again, there's a chance for investigators to get to the bottom of these extraordinary claims. This is Roy Stemmen, editor of Reincarnation International magazine.
I've come to Lebanon to try to solve life's greatest mystery. What will happen to us when we die? I'm convinced that we all have an immortal soul, but I'm here to try to prove it.
Dr. Chris French is a psychologist from London University.
Unlike Roy, I'm a skeptic. But I've come to Lebanon because if these children's stories aren't evidence of reincarnation, then I want to know what on earth is going on.
Joining Chris and Roy is Jad Al-Yunis, a Druze who's keen to try to prove reincarnation to the outside world.
Morning, Jad.
Good morning. How are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Nice. So what's the plan today?
The plan is we're going up to the mountain.
Great.
Yeah. Shukran.
Jad plans to lead Chris and Roy to the most convincing cases of Druze children who remember their past lives and their deaths in the Civil War.
Assalamu alaikum.
تفضل.
برك ما تاخذنا. شرف.
تسلم ايديك. شكرا.
Though some Druze live in Beirut, the vast majority live in the Shuf Mountains overlooking the city. They settled this easily defended mountain enclave nearly 1,000 years ago, after breaking away from Islam. Perhaps more than any other community on Earth, the Druze are intimately connected to their history. Every Druze understands that their soul has lived for centuries, through countless lives and as many deaths.
I'm hoping that we're going to find some really good cases here. From what I know of the Lebanon situation, there should be cases that are going to convince you, Chris.
Part of me hopes to be convinced, like most other people. I'd love to believe that death isn't the end. I'd love to believe that reincarnation, or at least some form of survival, does happen. But I think we're going to find that there are alternative explanations.
In fact, we're very close to Haneen's house now, and Haneen is an amazing story, and I believe myself she's reincarnated. She is the true story of reincarnation.
Jad says that in her previous life, 11-year-old Haneen Al-Aram was a school teacher called C4'S.
وهدول الشباب روي كريس وجايين من شان يشوفوا حنين. يا اهلا وسهلا فيكم. تفضلوا. Please. Thank you. Thank you.
Haneen, what do you remember of your past life?
كنت معلمة ولما صرت معي الشغلة الحادثة كنا عجيج رايحة مشان ولعت البرد عند جيراننا راح ليطفيون لحقتهم ولقلوا انه في قصف ايش القذيفة برقبتي. عندي 5 ولاد رياض ونادر ونبيلة وشهيرة وعدلة. هيدا رياض وهيدا نادر وهي شهيرة وهي أنا.
Incredible. Their children. 2 sons and a daughter. So who's on the photograph here with Haneen?
مين هذا اللي معك بالصورة حنين؟
جوزي رجل موتي.
Her husband.
So can we, this is incredible. Can we just be absolutely clear about this? This is a picture of Haneen with her past life husband Ajaj.
I'm impressed by Haneen's story, but of course Chris thinks it's fantasy. Haneen says she often visits her past life family, and we've arranged to go with her the next time. I'm hoping that witnessing the meeting will shake Chris's skepticism. Just a little.
Virtually without exception, the entire Druze community of 500,000 people are convinced that they will be reincarnated. Not just rural Druze, but city professionals and academics too. At the American University of Beirut, Chris and Roy are meeting the leading Druze historian, Dr. Sammie Macaron.
The reincarnation is affected so much Druze history. They lived all their history as a militant, so to speak, community. So reincarnation made them good warriors. Reincarnation made them brave, courageous, not fearing death. Personally, I don't remember any previous life, but this does not mean that reincarnation is not true. During the Civil War, I was kidnapped by one of the factions. All the machine guns were facing me, and of course they threatened me of killing me. So I faced death, but in fact the belief in reincarnation helped me a lot. I was saying, well, if I'm going to die, I hope that I will be born again at a good home with a good mother that can take care of me. There was no fear. Yeah, I was, in fact, looking forward, so to speak, for a new life.
To show Chris and Roy how common it is for Druze to remember their past lives, Jad has arranged an extraordinary reception at a local school.
صباح الخير. كيفكم؟ تفضلوا. عندنا ضيوف من انجلترا.
We asked if you would get together for us some of the children who remember past lives in the school. I wasn't expecting to see this many. This is incredible. But I've never been in a room with so many children that remember past lives.
Excuse me, let me ask them here if they'd like to talk to you about their stories. مين بحب إنه يحكي قصته لضيوفنا؟
Yeah, plenty to choose from.
Yeah,
excellent.
I'm sure.
أنا اسمي ربيع أبو دياب. كان اسمي سعد حلاوي. صار في حرب اسمها حرب المرابطون. سمعت صوت قوي كتير، انفجار. قلبت على الأرض وما حسيت بشيء. الجيل الماضي كان اسمي فوزي مطر. كنت عم بشتغل على الجرافة، اجتني قذيفة بظهري متت. اسمي مهدي حبوس. الجيل الماضي كان اسمي الحملاعب. كنت عم بحفظ بالتكتيل، اجتني قذيفة بالحلب.
حياتي السابقة كان اسمي رامز حيدر. كنت اشتغل بالبيبسي، كان عندي كاميون بيبسي لإلي. بصيروا قاسوا علي انه يعني بصير تطلع روحي وبموت.
Well, that was an incredible range of stories. Where do we start investigating those? What did you think of them, Chris?
I was very intrigued. I mean, it's kind of quite amazing listening to these kids telling you about these violent deaths that, you know, they all seem to sort of old and generally doing it so calmly.
And the amount of detail that they give, I was most impressed by that. Plenty of detail we can go and check.
Why is it that they all have these violent deaths? Do we not get reincarnation cases where the deaths aren't violent?
No, this question of violent death is something that comes up in many cultures. It's as if the soul carries into the next life instantly all the trauma that it suffered. If you die peacefully in your sleep, it seems, you just start a new life afresh with no memory.
Surprisingly, very few children who recall their deaths are disturbed by their memories. The teachers say they are well-adjusted students. Apparently, the most distinctive thing about them is their intense desire to be reunited with their past life families. Of all the stories heard at the school, the most intriguing comes from 12-year-old Rabia Abu Diab. He says that before he was killed in an ammunition dump explosion, he was Saad Halawi, one of Lebanon's most famous professional footballers and a pop singer.
Could you tell me about your first memories of your past life?
أنا كنت عم شاهد التلفزيون في واحد أنا دربته لاعب بيلعب فوتبول هو ذكرني أنا لما شفته تذكرت إنه أنا اسمي سعد حلاوي وصرت عيطت لي أمي ربيع ما رديت بعدين عيطت لي بعد مرة تانية ما رديت برمت قلت لها أنا اسمي سعد حلاوي مش ربيع بدياب.
The contrast between Rabia's life now and the lifestyle he apparently led as Saad Halawi is extreme. Once rich and famous, he now lives with his parents in a one-room flat.
Yeah, now we're going to have the
twin brothers.
going to have the famous coffee.
All this dovetails with the Druze philosophy. They believe a true understanding of life cannot come from just one existence. The soul must pass through many different experiences on its journey to wisdom.
كان عمره 6 شهور وقت أول ما قال إنه ما اسمه ربيع اسمه سعد حلاوي. كان بعض الأحيان بالليل يقوم يحط إيده هيك بخونية ويقول لي وين ماما أنت مش الماما.
How did that make you feel to be told by your son that you were not his mother?
طبعا بتضايق إنه بحسه إنه كأنه عم بيروح مني. إنه ابني وعم بيرفضني.
Can I ask you, you have a son who you accept is the reincarnation of a famous footballer and singer. How do you feel about having his soul in your family?
بالنسبة لأي شخص تاني بيشوفها هالة كبيرة ومستحيلة أو نوع هذا، بس بالنسبة لنا شغلة طبيعية جدا. يعني نحن بنعتقد أنه كل إنسان بيروح من جسد لجسد، بس ناس بيحكوا ناس بتذكروا ناس ما بتذكروا شيء.
Well, what did you make of that, Chris?
They're incredibly poor, aren't they? And thinking that may be an important part of the picture. I mean, we've got a kid there who, in his past life, he was rich, he had everything going for him. I mean, there are obvious kind of very strong motivations in a situation like this. If the past life family actually accepts the reincarnation, are they then going to help out financially?
Well, in his case, in Rabia's case, that clearly hasn't happened.
Well, not yet.
Well, they've been waiting 10 years in that case because he's been talking about being Saad Halawi since he was about 1.5. And
well, we're
up
told
to 12.
that he's been talking about Saad Halawi since he's 1.5.
Well,
we don't actually know that, do we?
No, but my point was that it's all down to evidence at the end of the day, and I think we're going to be getting that when we talk to other members of the family.
Well, we'll see, but I wonder.
Haneen is visiting her past life family. It was right here, by the house, that she remembers being killed in the Civil War. Her husband, sons and daughter Shahira are thrilled she's back from the dead.
يا هلا يا هلا يا هلا حبيبي أنا حنين
كيف البابا والماما؟
يا انت حياة وين الغيبة الطويلة؟
سلم عليك. حنين باي قولي له كيف؟
كيف؟
جده ساخن حبيب.
صاخي كتير جدو. منيح كتير؟ اشتقنا لك. I was very sad because my mother has killed, and this is the real feeling of any person who loses his mother. And my mother was a great woman. I look for Haneen's soul, as if my mother really is still living with us. And I am very happy because she return to us with Haneen's body.
Haneen's past life son explains the family didn't accept her easily. They tried to trick her, to test whether she really was the reincarnation of their mother.
When Shahira brought Haneen here, Haneen said, our house have steps. Then Shahira said, this is our house. From here we have steps up. Then Haneen said, this is wrong. This is not our house. Our house is from here. And then Shahira told her, our house is here, from this step. Then also Haneen said, no, this is wrong. Our house is down. And then she went with Shahira exactly to our house. When Haneen came here, she also could recognize me. I was sitting here with my friend. She knew me. This is Riyadh, she said. And then she looked at my father, Hajjaj. She said, oh, Hajjaj has a beer. When I died, he has no beer. Haneen told Layla, my wife Layla, that she hid some embroideries and some money for her here in a box. She put the box here, and then when she opened this and she recognized that the box was not here, she told, oh, where's the box? Layla asked her, did you hide some gold, some jewels? Haneen said, no, when I died I have no gold. Then this was a fact that she is my real mother, because in our religion, the religious woman did not wear gold and jewels in her hand.
هلق عشية وأنا نايمة أحلم فيها أحلام إنه جاية على البيت عم بتدقلي على الباب وتقلي يا ماما افتحي لي أنا جاية لعندك زورك. عدة مرات تجي بنومي تقلي يا ماما حتى تسمي لي أسماء الضيع.
After her mother died, Shahira waited a couple of years until the child in whose body her mother's soul was reincarnated would be old enough to talk. Then she began to search, visiting many villages. For over a year, her quest proved fruitless. None of the girls she met could recognize her or recall any details of her mother's life. Finally, on the point of giving up, she met Haneen.
بس فاتت اطلعت هيك حدقت بعيونها حسيت أنا إنه هياها بتطلعتها بعيونها طلعت فيي هيك وكأنها بتعرفني من زمان مش من هلق. قلت لها تعي لعندي. هلق وصلت لعندي وقعدت بحضني. قلت لها أنا شو اسمي؟ بتعرفيني أنا شو اسمي؟ قالت لي أنت شهيرة. أنت بنتي شهيرة. أنا عبطت بساعتها ويعني ما عادش أقدر أملك أعصابي وصرت أبكي وهيك. ضلك الأولي أنت. وأنت من زمان ما كنت.
All of us find the death of our loved ones hard to accept. I can easily understand why the family are so comforted by their mother's return. Haneen seems to know so many details about her past life. You can see why they're convinced that she really is the reincarnation of their mother. But I'm sure this extraordinary story must have a rational explanation. I've split up from Roy and Jad and come with an interpreter, Mamoon, to the area where Haneen lives, to make door-to-door enquiries, to try to find out what really did go on. On the face of it, the Haneen case looks like a very strong case for Roy. I mean, if you look at the map, we can see that Haneen's current family live miles and miles away from her past life family. And how else other than by reincarnation could Haneen have so much knowledge about the past life family? But I've been asking around and I have actually uncovered something very interesting. Here, within 1 mile of Haneen's house, there are members of both her current family and her past life family living within 50 yards of each other. And I suspect that that's the channel by which she has picked up the information. I think this probably happens quite a lot in these cases too. Anyway, Let's go and have a coffee, Mamoon.
Despite Chris's detective work, Roy is still confident that Haneen really is reincarnated. He thinks she knows many more details of her past life than she could possibly have picked up from relatives. But Chris reckons there's yet another problem with the evidence.
The one thing that I think we need to bear in mind is that we are getting very old accounts here. You know, we don't know, what we've got is an account of what they say happened after all this time. We really don't know if, you know, how much those events really did take place in the way they're being described.
As they're recounting, yes.
That's right.
It'd be great to get into a case from the beginning.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
The team decide the best way forward is to re-interview the school children and find out which ones have yet to meet their past life relatives. They need to be in on a case from the start, so they can witness that crucial first meeting between child and family and avoid relying on second-hand reports.
Have you met any of your past life family?
لا كمان بعد.
Would you like to?
بتحب انك تشوفهم؟
بحب ايه بس يمكن تعرفش يمكن يكونوا ميتين.
Can you tell me what made you start remembering your past life?
كان عمري 2 لما تذكرت. كنا مرقين على الطريق شفت كاميون بيبسي صرت صرخ فزعت منه.
Why did that make you believe that you once owned and drove a Pepsi truck?
عرفت الكاميون اللي عملت فيه حادث انا وعرفت انه كنت انا اشتغل ببيبسي.
اسم مرتي اسمها باسمة وعندي 5 أولاد. جهاد وزياد وحنان وجيهان ونهلة.
Have you ever met them?
هايكم.
Would you like to meet them?
بتحب تقابلهم؟
نعم.
Do you know where they live?
عم بيسألك بتعرف وين ساكنين؟
ايه بيسود.
One of the things that impressed me about the children we saw is their body language, their confidence in talking about the cases, and the amount of detail. To me, that can't be imagination.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, actually. I mean, there's lots of situations where people can be totally convinced about what they're saying. I don't doubt the kids' sincerity, but just because they are convinced themselves and they sound convincing doesn't mean it really happened like that.
With time at a premium, Chris and Roy have decided to follow up separate cases. Jad and Roy are on the trail of Mehdi's past life family. They've come to the war memorial, where he tells them his body was buried.
Now, Mehdi gave us the name of the person he said he was in his past life.
Melhem. It's Melhem. It's called Melhem.
Can you find it here, if it's here?
Yeah, of course. So many names.
Right.
From one village.
Yeah.
That's incredible. There it is. Melhem Lam. Here.
Top ones?
Yeah. Look, this is the date of birth and the date of death. Everything is here.
So, we found the person he says he was.
Yeah, exactly.
What we need to do now is see if we can find some relatives of this man and see if we can confirm some of the other details we've got.
With his interpreter, Mamoon, Chris has tracked down the Pepsi depot where Rami claims he worked in his previous life, as a truck driver called Ramiz Haidar.
nobody, no. Is it worth trying to ask anyone else? ففينا نسأل حدا غيره.
Mamoun phones the supervisor of all the truck drivers.
Hello?
Though he's worked here for over 20 years, the supervisor says he's never heard of anybody called Ramiz Haidar.
We go?
Yeah, I guess so.
Jad and Roy are making progress and have located some friends of the man Mehdi claims to have been in his previous life.
They said they had the photograph of him.
So, Jad, these are all the faces of the people whose names we saw at the memorial.
This is Milham.
That's Milham. How did he die?
كيف مات فكرة؟ بتقدروا تخبرونا كيف مات ملحم؟
هذا كان بيسوق على جرافة على الطريق اللي بتنزل من كفر متى باتجاه جسر القاضي. بيضربوه صاروخ من داير القمر. بتيجي إصابة مباشرة، بيجي صاروخ بكتفه. يعني تقسمه تقريبا.
Which is what Mehdi said he was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he have a wife called Basima?
لا مرته اسمها أميرة.
So that's odd. Can you explain? We wanted to know this because we've met a little boy who claims to be his reincarnation.
نحن بنعرف كمان انه في واحد بين انه هو ملحم بلاي. واجا لعند اهله وشافهم وتعرف عليهم.
Have they accepted him?
العائلة بتعرفوا انه قبلته مثلا عائلته القديمة.
شافته.
So there are now two boys, both claiming to be the reincarnation of this one person.
That's right.
I can imagine what Chris is going to have to say about that when we tell him.
2-0 to me. The Pepsi truck driver never existed. And Mehdi's past life personality seems to have been reincarnated twice. Obviously, Mehdi and the other boy can't both be right, so at least one of their memories must be fantasy. In fact, I suspect false memory is at the root of all of these cases. If I could persuade you that you, in fact, were Elvis Presley in a previous incarnation, and you weren't, but I managed to persuade you that you could remember being up on stage, performing like Elvis, doing the things Elvis did, just because Elvis actually did those things, and you can recall it as if you did them, it doesn't mean that for you they are genuine memories.
They couldn't be tested by a member of Elvis Presley's family coming and asking me intimate questions. If a child remembers, it's the name in the past life, names of brothers, sisters, where he lived, and all these other details, he's remembering actual things that are factual. They are truthful.
It's false.
It's not false. How can you say that's false?
Let's take Rabia's case then, the strongest case that we think we've got so far. For a start, in his past life he was someone very famous. There's lots of information around about him. We know that his mother was actually a fan of Saad Halawi.
You know, I like Chris a lot, but it's so easy to be a skeptic and dismiss all this. But when you look at Rabia's case, it's got so much going for it. It's got all the hallmarks of a genuine case. I'm sure I'm going to prove him wrong in the end. I'm looking forward to doing that. I've been looking at Rabia's case on the video, and when you see his testimony, it is so matter-of-fact and so detailed, information we can easily go and check.
That's what we should do.
And I think we really ought to try and get out and see whether it is fantasy, as you think, or whether it is a past life memory, which I suspect in this case. He's just like an adult. It's quite amazing.
To me, he is an adult. Playing a child.
I like that.
The investigators are on their way to Beirut with Rabia. They're going to meet the coach of the Lebanese national football team. Rabia says that in his previous life, Rassan played football with him and was his best friend. Roy hopes their reunion will show that Rabia's knowledge of his life as Saad Halawi cannot be explained by false memories.
أول شيء علاقتي بالمرحوم سعد حلاوي كانت من الصغر أكيد لسبب إنه كنا نلعب فوتبول مع بعض. لهالسبب هيدا كتير توطدت علاقتنا وصرنا تقريبا منحس حالنا إنه نحن شخص واحد.
He was my best friend, but now I don't remember him exactly.
Do you think meeting him will bring back some more memories of your life as Saad Halawi?
Maybe. If I go there, I will have more memories.
وطبعا بتبقى في احداث يعني حتى ان كانت داخليه محل ما قتل سعد حلاوي كان بملجأ. قال لي يبدو انه في انفجار بالمكان. بيقول لي المرحوم سعد مات. قلت له انا جاي لعندك. نزل وجايبه حامله. استلمته انا. بعد منا قال تاني يوم دفناه. يعني طبعا حسيت حالي انه انا عم بدفن حالي يعني. دفنته ورجعت هيك.
As everyone waits for Rassan to finish the training session, there's an opportunity to take Rabia into the club's trophy room to test how much he can really remember of his time as a player here.
Do you see anything here that you remember? Does it bring back any memories?
Are these the trophies that you helped to win?
What do you recognise? Anything at all?
This is my picture.
That's you. What's that ball? Do you recognise that?
Can we take this down and have a closer look? Do you recognise this?
This is my name.
تتذكر توقيعك؟ انك انت وقعتها؟ مش كتير.
انا مش ممكن اتذكر.
ليش؟
لان مش ذاكر كل شيء بالضبط.
Look, from my experiences, that we have to give him some time to remember, because it doesn't quite work. Like you come in and then you start asking.
Sure.
So, shall I have a go with him and see?
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah. ربيع، هلا بتحب الفطابيل انت مش هيك؟ هلا الغيها هاي الفكرة، الغي هلا تفكيرك هلا. ارجع ورا بتفكيرك لحياتك القديمة لما كنت تحب هذه الفطابيل. هاي الغرفة كلها بتتذكرها؟ بتتذكر اشي فيها؟ فكر، رجع بذاكرتك. مين كنت تشوف؟
كنت أشوف عالم كتير.
He's saying he remembers when he enters the room he would see lots of people in it. He remembers, kind of vaguely.
At the last minute, Rassan changed his mind about the reunion. He said meeting his best friend's reincarnation would be too overwhelming, and he couldn't face breaking down in tears in front of Rabia. Rabia is disappointed about not meeting his friend Rassan, and so are Chris and Roy, who wanted to witness their encounter. But Chris is struck by how little Rabia could remember in the trophy room, and he's more sceptical than ever about his past life memories.
Look, let me make this point. There is no such thing yet as the perfect case. I've published hundreds of reports, and there's always something that isn't quite right that would convince every skeptic. But at the same time, I'm personally convinced that both the case of Rabia and Haneen satisfy me in myself that they were genuine reincarnation cases.
What we have to look at it at the societal level. We have to look at it not just on the individual case level. We're in a society where they accept it's. We've spoken to very, very few Druze who actually doubt that reincarnation happens. I mean, I can see why. It doesn't matter whether it's true or false. It serves some really useful functions within Druze society. Okay. We've already been told that the Druze don't fear death in the way that other people do. That's one hell of a bonus as far as I'm concerned. It helps them to cope with bereavements better. On top of that, it increases the cohesiveness within the society. You've got all kinds of links between not only your actual biological family members, you've also got past life family members. In a closed society like the Druze that have been persecuted for centuries, this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but that doesn't disprove reincarnation.
It neither proves it nor disproves it, but it's an important point.
But I'm more concerned with the fact.
After weeks among the Druze, the team still hasn't seen what happens when a child comes face to face with a member of their past life family for the very first time. Now, at last, they've tracked down someone Rabia has never met, his past life sister, Sammie.
صدقيني هذا اللقاء كتير مهم بالنسبة لي. لما خبروني إنه خيي ناطق يعني انبسطت صدقيني، يعني حسيت من جوا إنه كتير كنت مبسوطة. دليل مهم بالنسبة لي هو إحساسي، هذا هو اللي بيخليني أحس يعني إنه هو خيي أو لا، يعني شعوري أهم شيء. يعني هيدا إذا بدك يمكن يكون حلم يعني بتمنى يتحقق أكيد. يعني إنسان كيف بدي أقول لك يعني خيي يعني بالنهاية اللي عشت معه، اللي بحب رجع كل ذكرياتي أنا وياه، اللي بحب رجع صداقتنا، اللي بحب رجع كل شيء معه.
All Rabia knows is that he has a visitor. Sammie is keeping her identity secret because she wants to see whether he'll recognize her.
مرحبا.
أنا بعمل شيء. طلع في منيح. تعرفني؟ ما تعرفني؟ ما بشبه حدا؟ تعرفه؟
مش عارف.
طب ربيع مش زعلان من اختك لانه بعدها لهلا ما شفتك؟
انا مش زعلان لان
ولا شو
في منهم بقولوا لي انه مثلا بيتأثر الواحد وفعلا ماشي بيصير.
يعني عندك شعور انه اذا اختك يمكن ما شفتك او ما قدرت تشوفتك لسبب هيدا مش لسبب تاني؟
ممكن.
قاعد معي مرتاح، عم تحكي مرتاح ولا مضايق؟
لا مرتاح، بس في شغلة بشعر فيها انه في شبه انت واختي كتير 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 كتير.
انا اختك.
شعوري صح، قلتلك.
مبسوطة كتير اني شفتك، كنت حابة اشوفك من زمان.
وانا اكتر.
You know, there is a part of me that would really love to believe in reincarnation, or at least some form of survival of the soul. I mean, we've been away for what, less than a month, and I'm really missing my wife and kids. And the prospect that one day I'm going to die and I'm going to be separated from them forever is a thought I find deeply painful. It's the price you have to pay for not believing in an immortal soul.
You see death as the final curtain.
That's it. It's finito.
I don't, you see. I believe that we're much more than just flesh and bones, that we each have a soul and it continues after death. I also think that life has a purpose, that we're here to learn lessons, and that one life isn't enough to learn those lessons, which is the view that most major religions have been teaching for thousands of years. What's really exciting about the cases we've been looking at is, I think, ultimately we'll find a case that provides us with that proof scientifically, and that will change the whole outlook of mankind on life, put everything into perspective. That's my view.
Yeah, no.
As human beings, to the waves. One dies here and another, you know, is created there. It's just like souls to me, rolling down the history. One dies, another is created somewhere.
It's a nice metaphor, and poetically it might be true, but as science, I don't think it goes much further than that.
بس تطلع فيه بتحسه انه خيي هيك كان، يعني هو بتحسه بيحكي يعني باشياء كبيره، بتحسه كان هيك عنده هالنظره، وحتى عيونه تطلع فيه بتقول مش عيون طفل هيدا عم يحكي، في عيون هيك في شيء، يعني في شيء اكبر منه عم يحكي. مجرد ما قلت لك قعدت وحكيت معه، اكيد خففت شعور كيف بدي اقول لك الحزن. يعني صار عندي شيء انه يعني كيف انه اعطتني امل انه بشيء يمكن ما كنت، لانه يمكن نقول موجود او شيء، اعطتني امل.
For us uncovering the secrets of one poisonous plant next, we're getting well out of it on Sacred Weeds in just under 2.